Good morning, everyone. Welcome to South Church. I'm the Reverend Susan Suchoki-Brown. I'm so happy that you can join us this morning for this virtual service. We are Unitarian Universalist Church, and we're ordered around some principles and purposes that respect and value the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And whether this is your first time or your 100th time, we're so glad that you can join us. We want you to know that you are welcome to be in touch with us at any time. And please know that we care about you. This morning, the worship service is happening with the help of a lot of people. And I would like to introduce to you the worship associate, Brian Bliss. Brian?
Thank you, Reverend Susan. My pleasure to be here today. Our guest speaker is Cynthia Chatis, who has been a member of South Church since 1992, and also is known here for her music, which she's provided for many years. Cynthia?
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for introducing me. And I'm delighted to be here with you all. And I wanted to just share my title from this morning's message. It is based on nature and music, and it's finding hope in the patterns woven within us and around us. Quite a lofty title, but there it is. Brian?
Great. And also there are many other people involved with putting this service together. I'd like to thank a few of them now. Jen Leiden for helping put the service together. Jen Del Deo is leading the Story for All Ages. Kirsten Hunter will be editing, or will have edited the video by the time you see it, and she's been busy with that over the last several weeks. Music today will be provided by Susan Adams, and Theo will be doing the Invocation, and Cynthia will also be playing the flute.
Our congregational survey is on its way. Watch your email first thing this coming week to check out the congregational survey offered to you by the search committee. We are asking for your survey results to be back by July 30th. Please make sure you check your spam, promotional, or social folder if you don't have the survey in your email by Tuesday. Thanks.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving as love shows us how.
The other night, as I was drawing the curtains closed before bed, I noticed a stream of unhelpful thoughts, narrow, limiting, for no reason I could identify. Glancing up at the stars, I saw a sure cure for a cramped mind. Stepping outside, staring up at the clear night sky, I instantly felt a sense of wonder and awe. Gazing up at this star field, I soon forgot about whatever it was that was bothering me. Even though I felt as tiny as a grain of sand and just about that important to the universe, I also felt deeply connected to something that is always there, often just out of view, waiting to be seen and heard and known. Looking heavenward, ancient Greeks imagined that the planets rotated in perfectly spherical orbits, ringing out in perfect harmony, and called this the music of the spheres. This idea lasted centuries. And while the scientific revolution disproved this particular concept, the idea of music underlying the natural world has not gone away. The Nobel Prize-winning physicist Frank Wilczek, who describes the universe as a work of art, writes that on discovering that the subatomic world is governed by equations that describe waves, early quantum physicists consulted an old textbook on sound, which was written to explain the physics of musical instruments. So here we are, with our bodies and minds and hearts humming along, as it were, with a deep musicality inherent in every part of the material universe, connected at the most fundamental level in a kind of exquisite harmony operating at the smallest scale imaginable, yet connecting us with every other thing, even with the stars, and yes, with every other person on the planet. May we sing and may we play well together. As we light our chalice today, please feel free to light one in your own space. And as we do so, this is an excerpt from the song Woodstock by Joni Mitchell. We're stardust, billion-year-old carbon. We're golden, caught in the devil's bargain. And we've got to get ourselves back to the garden. Feel free to join in as we recite the mission statement displayed on your screen. At South Church, we nurture spiritual growth through worship, learning, and community. We celebrate the worth and dignity of all people, and we inspire one another to act on our faith in the larger community.
Good morning, friends. I'm glad you're here. Today, I have a wonderful book for you called Ordinary Mary's Extraordinary Deed. It's written by Emily Pearson and illustrated by Fumi Kosaka. Ordinary Mary was so very ordinary that you'd never guess she could change the world. This ordinary kid, she did. She changed the world. One ordinary day, skipping on her way from her ordinary school to her ordinary house, she passed an ordinary vacant lot filled with ordinary bushes, growing ordinary berries, ordinary blue and juicy, luscious, lovely berries. Well, Ordinary Mary picked the ordinary berries and brought them in a big brown bowl to Mrs. Bishop's porch. What? Left berries in a big brown bowl on Mrs. Bishop's porch? That sneaky kid, she did. This made Mrs. Bishop very, very happy, so she baked a big batch of blueberry muffins and thought of 5 people who might have brought those beautiful berries, then secretly gave each a plate. How great, 5 people got a plate. One of those 5 was her paper boy, Billy Parker, and when Billy saw his name on a note in the driveway on a plate, he quickly parked his bike and ate every crumb. Oh, yum, 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 he ate every crumb. This made him so glad that the next 5 people got their papers on the porch and not in the bushes where he often threw them. In fact, they were handed right to them. One of those 5 was Mr. Stevens, who was so amazed that he smiled for 10 hours on the airplane, then said to 5 different people, "Here, let me help you." He still smiled, and they did too. One of those 5 was Maria, whose cranky little boy James stopped crying when Mr. James played peekaboo with him until their ride came. When he waved goodbye, Maria exclaimed, "How strange that a stranger would be so sweet." And the next day, when she was out shopping, once, twice, 5 times she did something nice for 5 different people, 5 times without stopping. One of those 5 was Joseph, an old, bent, and gray, in front of her in line at the produce stand. When he said, "I guess I counted wrong. I don't really need these oranges," little James reached out to him with an orange from their basket, and Maria put a coin in Joseph's hand and said, "Here, take this. These oranges are on us." As Joseph shuffled to the bus, his heart was full and his eyes were wet, and his hands did helpful things for the next 5 people he met. One of those 5 was Sarah, a college girl who was off to see the world and stopped at Joseph's shop. When her bag broke and her things fell all over the floor, she said, "Oh, what will I do?" Joseph said, "This is for you," and he gave her a new bag woven with his own hands in red and purple and green. "Oh, thank you," she said. "It's the loveliest bag I've ever seen." When Sarah left, she felt sunny as noon, and she just had to shine on 5 people soon. One of those 5 was Sophia, whom she met on a boat, looking like the world might end, looking like someone without a friend. "What beautiful blue eyes you have," Sarah said, "and they're just the color of the flowers in your lovely dress." "Yes?" said Sophia. "Oh, yes," said Sarah. The beautiful blue eyes shed a happy tear, and when the boat trip was through, Sophia called 5 people to make them happy too. One of those 5 was Tom, her son, the doctor, who was having a very hard day. "Hi," she said. "I love you, Tom." "Well, how great to hear your voice," he sighed. "I always need my mom." Dr. Tom was so cheered up that on his next break, he bought a big bunch of bright balloons for 5 young patients, and he handed them out right then and there. One of those 5 was Peter, a little boy who went home from the hospital that very day. Gratitude for the big bunch of bright balloons filled him and thrilled him and spilled out of him and on to the next 5 people who came his way. One of those 5 was Eric, a teenage boy whose sacks and such were way too much. When one dropped on the sidewalk, Peter stopped his play and rushed right over, saying, "Super Wheels to the rescue!" Well, Eric, no longer stressed, was very impressed and made a mental note that very afternoon to help 5 people and do it soon. One of those 5 was Di, his 10-year-old sister who didn't have many friends and was painfully shy. When Eric said, "Hey sis, want to come to the park and learn how to ride my skateboard?" she looked at him wide-eyed. "Serious?" she cried. "Sure," he said. And because of her brother, Di decided maybe she could be a friend to another 5 others. One of those 5 was Louise, a homeless woman who lived under the trees. She could hardly believe her ears when she heard Di say, "May my brother and I buy you a hot dog and a drink at that stand over there?" Could it be true? Someone actually cared? Cared enough to give her food and a smiley-faced ring that was practically new? Louise was so pleased that she decided that even though she had nothing, she would find 5 others and give them something. One of those 5 was Mr. Taylor, who lost his wallet in the park. Louise found it, full of 5s and 10s and 20s. Oh, what she could do with all that money. But she found his name and called his home, and over he came. He was so impressed that she was honest in spite of being poor that he offered her a job in his store and vowed to do something generous for 5 people or more. One of those 5 was Kate, a woman on vacation who wanted to see a show she'd heard was a sensation. "Oh no," she said, "it's sold out, but I'm going home tomorrow," and her face was filled with sorrow. Mr. Taylor held out his ticket. "I live here," he said. "I can go anytime. Take mine." Kate loved the show and was so touched that she thought buying 5 presents for 5 people back home would be really fun. And one of those 5 presents was a little heart necklace for Mary, her niece. And you should have seen her eyes light up in surprise. Mary? What? Ordinary Mary? Yes, ordinary Mary's extraordinary deed had come full circle and on its way had changed the lives of every person living. You see, when Mrs. Bishop made muffins from Mary's blueberries, not only the paper boy, Billy Parker, but the other 4 people too made 5 people smile, and those 5 did too. And after a while, in only 15 days, love was sent to every person everywhere. Just see how it went. Oh, look at all that math. Well, 6 billion was even more than all of the people on the planet. So after everyone had a share and everybody knew that somebody cared, there was even love left over. The world was changed, and thousands and millions and billions agreed it was all because one ordinary day, ordinary Mary did a perfectly ordinary, stunningly earth-shaking, totally extraordinary deed. Ordinary Mary changed the world, and we all can too. We'll see you soon.
It's now time for the offering, an opportunity to support the programs of our church and to live our shared values in the larger community. This month, we're sharing our plate with CASA of New Hampshire, which helps abused and neglected children find safe, permanent, and loving homes. You can contribute by following the instructions on your screen or by going to southchurch-uu.org. Please give as you are able. Your contribution would be gratefully received.
Let us be in an attitude of prayerful reflection. Sometimes I like to listen to the noises that are around me. I'm sitting in the office at 73 Court, and I hear trucks and vehicles, but underneath all of that is the noise of these little chirping birds. And they give me such hope to hear them. This morning when I pulled into 73 Court, parked my car in the back alleyway, there was a little rabbit. It stopped and looked at me, merrily hopped on its way, reminding me that even in the hustle and bustle of a little town, of people walking, of things happening, of construction going on, that nature is ever present and ever there. And in this time of so much uncertainty and so much turmoil, it is just good to kind of remember the nature, those noises and patterns and things that are all around us that remind us that life is good and life goes on, and that we're just one small part of the whole. It's humbling sometimes to know that we have so little control. And then it is just so refreshing knowing that life abounds. Outside are beautiful flowers, orange gladiolas, the smells of roses and verbena and wonderful flowers all up and down the streets. And then we're reminded of our place, because we need to be a part of everything that's going around. And then we're reminded to slow down enough to ask and to wonder and to be in awe and to say to you, we care about you. We hope that you're doing well. We want to know what's on your heart, what's on your mind. There's a chat line where you can enter the prayer needs that you have for yourself or someone else. We know that people have had some surgery. Connie, we hope you're recovering well. We know some people have had losses, and we keep you in our thoughts and mind. But please take time where you listen to the sound of noise around you and to some lovely flute music that Cynthia Chatis will play. Take some time, breathe deep, in and out. We are here with you. We care. May it be so.
I see a silver lining in these times, all things considered. All things considered. Our current theme is collective liberation, And as I considered what to share today, I found myself asking, where do I find hope? Where do you find hope? What is hopeful to you? Well, nature and music came to mind. My relationship with them is strong. How they engage many, comfort, and invite us into their mystery, wake our senses. In addition to nature and music, I find hope in creativity in general, and sharing ideas, collaborating, taking a nature walk, or stepping outside, taking a deep breath, or looking up at into the sky, watching clouds, makes me feel hopeful. Or looking up at a tall stand of trees, watching them gently sway in the wind, hearing leaves rustling, songbirds, spring peeps, fragrance of sweetgrass. Taking time to do things like this, to observe, makes me feel good. And imagination. One time when I was a little girl, I imagined that there was an elevator in the tree in our backyard, big pine. And lucky me, I found a tiny little twig next to the tree, which turned out to be a key. So gently I placed the twig into the opening in the bark, and I was right. To my surprise, out popped a little friendly squirrel. The elevator door opened, hello. And then the squirrel came out, escorted me in, doors closed, and straight up to the top of the tree we went. And what an amazing view. This was my goal. I wanted to see what was up there. What places, real or imagined, bring you joy? What makes you laugh? What soothes you? Yes, there is great work to do, work being done. And I hope that you take time to pause and think about the wonder, the beauty of it all. A pause can feel like a homecoming, a knowing that no matter what comes our way, we are part of this dance of light and sound and pattern. So I find hope in being present for all of this. And take our amazing bodies and abilities, how we move, breathe, express ourselves in unique ways, how we can evolve and learn, create constantly in our minds, with our hands. We make choices and care for home, family and friends, community, ourselves. We are surrounded by awe-inspiring patterns of creativity. We are patterns of creativity. So my message of hope is about this presence, seeing our similarities and celebrating our differences by listening, through listening, deep listening to one another. Through kind, respectful interactions toward the environment, toward each other, toward ourselves. And in forgiveness. There is hope found in forgiveness through learning how to do the work of forgiveness. Someone who's helped me tremendously with that is Archbishop Desmond Tutu and his daughter, a fellow priest, Umpo Tutu. They wrote a book, a very powerful one, called the Book of Forgiving, to help us find hope and peace in the divides, atrocities, and disconnects within our culture, our world. The Tutus offer us a clear path toward healing even the most crushing or painful memories, experiences. When challenged by choices which may or may not serve me well, I try to look to forgiveness and our natural world for answers. And I look to music. Like chords of music, we harmonize, weave, and dance every moment. We transform, transition, transcend. We are in no small way interconnected, members of a living system, a web of life full of possibility. One of my favorite all-time movies, I never tire of it, is called Mind Walk. It's a movie based on a book called The Turning Point, written in 1985. It was written by a physicist named Fritjof Capra. He also wrote the book, The Tao of Physics. Fritjof made a name for himself by mapping the breakdown of mechanistic science and the emergence of new models and metaphors for understanding the physical universe. He looks at the shift from linear thinking to systems thinking in science, showing how recent advances in a wide range of fields, from evolutionary biology and chaos theory to quantum physics and computer science. This is a call for us to examine everything, all at the same time. How we live, the state of the world, its natural resources, and our usage practices. To many, systems thinking is necessary to understand complex interdependence of ecological systems and social systems. Fritjof says, in the coming years and coming decades, the survival of humanity will depend on our ecological literacy, our ability to understand the basic principles of ecology and to live accordingly. We need each other and the Earth's resources in order to survive. We know this. And some resources are being consumed faster than they can regenerate. So, without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs, I begin with myself through observation, trying to understand the many issues and challenges of our time. There is a silver lining in these present times. Some say we've been given a gift of pause to reevaluate our ways, our implicit and overt biases amidst confusing, frightening messages and behaviors of the day. There's hope in being here now, hope in how we seek solutions, how we come together, how we continue to believe in possibility, even when we are afraid. There is great positive work being done, and I am hopeful because of this, truly. To continue on with our theme, I invite you to consider a metaphor, actually a couple of metaphors that I have taken from Fritjof Capra's research, his work, to help us understand this topic of systems theory, systems thinking. So we use a tree metaphor. A tree is made up of parts or pieces. We know that it has a trunk bark, roots, branches, and leaves. Now, a systems thinker would look at the tree and see this, but they would also see the tree as a life-giving force, life-giving to possibly hundreds and millions of animals and insects in its lifetime. How that tree creates habitat for birds and insects. And in order for the tree to survive, I've come to learn that there's a certain type of fungus that grows on the tips of the roots of the tree to extract nutrients from the soil. And the fungus needs the tree to survive. Both tree and fungus would die without the other. It's an example of interdependence, just like us. And there's a life-sustaining exchange of oxygen between us and the tree and the earth, earth and the sky, sky to the universe. These living, breathing systems include ecosystems and social systems. Music is used as another metaphor for understanding systems thinking. We take musical notes in isolation. When played to form patterns, chords create interconnections and relationships. And these relationships form to make music. It's a beautiful metaphor. And there are many examples of interdependencies that systems thinkers help to illuminate for us. How intricate and patterned and connected we are. And we are self-renewing, self-maintaining, self-sustaining, self-organizing, and self-transcending beings. Amazing. Someone whose writings speak to me about hope and all of this so beautifully is the late Mary Oliver. She's one of my favorites. Many of you too, I know, like her. So I'd like to close with this meditation. It's called Wild Geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert, repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I'll tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. And meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. Mary Oliver. In these profoundly challenging times, may you find hope in all that sustains you. May it be so.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we're together again.
And so this ends another service, ends another morning of us gathering together. And though we have done so virtually, we know that we're not alone. We know that others are with us in this world, this virtual world. I want you to go out into the world, being the force for good that you are. Bring love, bring peace, bring hope, and stay connected to one another. May we go forth now into our day with love and hope.